Okay guys, so welcome to today's video, and in today's video we have this Roblox Lua scripting tutorial series which is about to begin. So I have already announced the series, and that's the first episode guys, and I hope that we'll be able to make you as a beginner become a pro later on after you have watched all of the episodes of this series, okay? So my goal is to make you a high tier or pro scripter, okay? So, yeah, so what are we going to learn about in this video? Of course, we are not going to start with the big stuff. So I consider you guys, or I assume that you are a beginner. And in this case, or for those purposes, I have prepared this presentation right here, okay? And the mistake, or the biggest mistake every beginner, or almost every beginner does, is that they lack of knowledge about the Roblox Studio environment. Okay, and let me explain you what I'm talking about. So, when it comes to scripting, everyone has the object-oriented programming in mind. Means people consider changing a color of a part as scripting, for example, or maybe firing projectiles at something. So they consider that as scripting as well, which is true, but those are all object-oriented codes, okay? So that's all object-oriented programming. And defining a variable, for example, is scripting as well, but why is nobody talking about that? Okay, so you guys need to lay a base or a basis in order to acquire the knowledge about object-oriented programming. And the base in this case is, first of all, some basic knowledge about Roblox Studio. Okay, and on top of that, we will start with some basic scripting knowledge, and after that, we will proceed with object-oriented programming. But let me continue this presentation. So as you can see, that's the first step. And when we speak of getting familiar with Roblox Studio, you need to, or you should get to know about all available instances. So Roblox offers so many instances which you can just easily insert inside of your Explorers tab. So I'm going to show you that in further progress of this video as well. So there are so many instances, for example, physical instances such as a part, a particle emitter, and so much other stuff which is visible to you. But there are also other instances such as int values, string values, which are not directly visible physically, but they are existing, okay? And that's the first thing. So there are so many instances which offer, now the second thing, which offer different properties, events, and functions. So instances always have properties, okay? So if we speak of a part, we, for example, have the color, the size, the transparency, and some other properties, and changing them is actually this object-oriented programming aspect we have talked about earlier. And yeah, so that's all about their properties. They also have events. So when something happens with these instances, for example, when the part is being touched, then the part has a touched event, okay? And there are some more events which we also will learn about in the following episodes, or maybe in this one, I don't know yet, but probably in the next one. And some of those instances also have different functions. So there are a handful of functions which almost every instance has. For example, cloning an instance, or well, that's the only example I could possibly think of right now. But if you consider, so if you consider these two steps, then you can proceed with the third one, which is about the services, okay? And there are many services in Roblox. For example, the data store service, which is responsible for, data store purposes, means storing your data, storing the data on a certain player's user ID, a key whatsoever. That's another topic, guys, but also the tween service, for example, messaging service, chat service. There are so many services which can be used, okay, within your code. And learning about them is a great way to extend possibilities you can do with your scripting. But I would really consider these two notes. So get to know about all available instances and learning about their properties, events, and functions. So I would prioritize them for the beginning, because learning about the services is a step which I would like to do at the end of this beginner series, okay? But if we get through all of these things, then we can start with the object-oriented programming, guys. And with that being said, let's switch over to Studio to show you some stuff, okay? So I assume that every one of you has downloaded ROBLOX Studio. If you do not know how to do that, then I'm sorry for you, but you'll need to download it, okay? So if you open up Studio, then you'll see this tab, okay? And you just hit all templates. So as you can see, ROBLOX offers you many game templates right here, but we only want to start with either the baseplate or the classic baseplate. Depends on you. I'm gonna start with the baseplate. So basically an empty baseplate with just, yeah, this baseplate right here and this spawn location, okay? And one thing I really ask you to do is to right click on this tab right here. Well, you guys are unable to see it, but if you right click on it, then another tab is going to appear, okay? And you are just going to select the Explorer. And if you select the Explorer, then this tab right here will appear, okay? So this tab right here is basically your Explorer, and I'm gonna explain this to you later on, but you will just need to add some more tabs right here. So right click on this top bar right here again. So OBS is not recording this for any reason, but right click on this again and then select the Properties tab. And if you have selected, then you have this Properties tab down here, okay? And I want you to right click again and select the output. And if you select the output, then you will have this tab down here. Well, I have of course moved them. It could happen that your Explorer is right here or something like that, so you'll just need to bring them in shape. So it is up to you how you want them to look like. Okay, and those tabs right here, so such as the toolbox, well, you can forget about the toolbox for the beginning because we want to do our own stuff without any models or anything, without any free models. Okay, one more thing I would like to insert is, so right click again, is the insert object tab. Okay, so if you select that, then this right here appears. And with that being said, let me talk about the instances from the beginning, so from the presentation. So I've talked about some instances, and as you can see, this tab right here emphasizes what I've just said. So there are many instances, and they have also been categorized. So we have animation-related instances, avatar-related instances, constraint-related instances, and so on. And there are probably some instances I don't even know about because I'm basically not using them. But we'll check out, or we'll check some of them out later on. Okay, now to the Explorer tab. So as you can see, we have many other, well, let's say categories within this Explorer, okay? So workspace, players, lighting, replicated first, replicated storage, server script servers, and so on. So you can just basically see them. And I'm only gonna deal with the important ones for this video. So important, or at least important for me, is the workspace tab, the players tab, the replicated storage, the server script servers, sometimes the server storage, the starter GUI, the starter pack, and sometimes the starter player. So the rest is irrelevant to me, okay? Because I'm not using them that much. Well, the lighting tab could get important when you want to change the appearance of your environment right here. For example, when you want to add a new skybox. So If I get rid of this one, as you can see, the sky just changes because there is a skybox inside. So if you insert skyboxes to your game, then lighting will become important to you. So yeah, let me go through all of those categories just to explain you what their task is. So this workspace right here, as you can see, also has this earth symbol, and this symbol basically represents its task. So it just is some kind of world which is visible to you, on which you can walk onto. As you can see, we have the space plate, and we're able to walk on the base plate. And it basically contains, or mainly contains, all of those physical instances which we are able to see and interact with. You can also put scripts inside and other non-physical instances, but its main purpose is to make those physical instances visible to you. So baseplate, my character, and the spawn location. And yeah. So the players tab, let me demonstrate you what this one does. So as you can see, it was empty at the beginning when we haven't tested this out. And it becomes non-empty when we join the game. So this players tab right here holds some player instances of all of the players which are currently in game. As you can see, it is only me, so boss of bosses. And yeah, so I'm the only person in game, and I'm the only instance of, or I'm the only child of this players tab. So I'm gonna go through some scripting language later on, maybe in the next episode. Basically terms like parent and child and so on, so I'm gonna explain them to you later. So we have our player instance, which has a backpack inside. So if we insert something into this backpack, so let me just do that. Let me insert a tool. So if we insert a tool, it becomes visible in our toolbar below. So you can memorize that for other episodes. So if you put something instead of the backpack, the player is able to use it from the toolbar. Okay. And the starter gear, I think that when you put something inside of here, I'm honest with you, I've barely worked with starter gear, so I think that it should appear when we, or every time we respawn. So it is like, okay, never mind. Never mind this one. Well, I think that the gears instead of the starter gears tab are just being copied into the player's backpack every time he spawns. So I think that is supposed to be the task of the starter gear, but it didn't work out because there is this thing called filtering enabled. Okay, so filtering enabled, you guys might have heard of it, but we'll get to that topic later on. Okay, so starter gear, and the next thing is the player GUI. So basically, we have those things such as the chat or other GUI instances, and GUI basically stands for generated user interface, I think, and it is basically all of this stuff on your screen. So such as the chat, the player list, the in-game buttons, so the shop button, the shop menu in your favorite game, for example. So all of these things are GUIs or GUIs, and adding a screen GUI or other GUI related instances instead of the player GUI will cause them to appear. Okay, but we'll go through all of these categories, or at least the player GUI category, in a other video. Okay, in a future video. And I could, for example, delete this chat, and as you can see, the chat has been deleted. Okay, so that's just to empathize the impact. So player scripts basically contains all of the player scripts which are running in the background. For example, the chat script. So I think that when I get rid of that, I'm unable to chat or anything. The sounds, the scripts loader, and some player modules. So basically those scripts which guarantee the movement, the camera movement, etc. Okay, so those are some very important scripts every player has. Okay, apart from that, we have already talked about the lighting. Now, the replicated storage is a storage which is accessible by server and client, okay? So that's the only thing you should know about for the beginning. So the client is basically your player, okay? And the server is the game itself, which has, let's say, which has access to all of these server-related categories, such as the server script servers, the server storage, and scripts mainly. And you, as a player or as the client, you do not have access to the server script servers and server storage. Okay, so the relation between client and server, it seems a little bit complicated for a beginner, but we will get to that topic later on in a future video. And yeah, so server script servers and server storage. So I have already told you, clients are not able to access them, to see their content. And you can basically hide some important server scripts, such as the data store service, or other important scripts which you which would become vulnerable to exploiters. Okay, so you can hide them inside of these server categories. So this server storage right here is a great spot to hide something server related as well. So if you have, let's say, player data in instances, so in int values, string values, etc., then you can perfectly hide them inside of here, because exploiters, for example, they are able to create this Explorers tab within the game, and they can see almost everything except for the server script servers and server storage, and they will also be able to see your cool data store, which consists of instances. Okay, and I'm sorry if I'm confusing you with all of these examples. Okay, so you might be confused a little, but the beginner scripters under you, or yeah, so the beginners who are listening to this video, they probably know what I'm talking about. So storage GUI, we have already talked about this. So this is basically the player GUI, but can just, yeah, so you can just place the GUIs inside of here, and they will appear instead of the storage GUI. The same for starter pack. So if you place something inside of here, it will appear in every player's backpack. And same for the starter player. So if you place something in the starter player, it will appear in the player scripts tab of your player. And that's actually it for all of those instances. Now let me go through the properties tab. So the properties tab is exactly what you think. So the properties tab holds all of the properties of certain instances. So for example, if we click on this workspace instance, we have different properties than this part right here. That is because they are different. So this part is a physical object which has a color, which can cast shadows, so you can enable and disable it, which has a material, which can reflect, which has a transparency, which has a size, which has a position, etc. So we have many properties, and it is recommended for you to get familiar with all of them. So you should know that changing a color will cause this color changing check, or changing the transparency to a certain extent will either make the part invisible or visible to you, or changing the size will cause in a different shape, for example. Okay, so you should get familiar with that, and also recommend you to get familiar with this behaviors tab right here. So can collide, anchored, and all of these other options right here. Okay, and that's it for the part. You could, if you really want to learn something, so you could just pick one random instance out of here. So if you, for example, pick the motor 6D, you'll spot some more different properties, such as the part 1, part 0, part 1. Or if you insert a rope constraint, then you'll you'll notice some other properties again. So attachment 0, attachment 1. And it just takes some time to get familiar with all of them, to get to know about all of them. And I personally, I do not know about all of the properties as well, so only about some instances. Okay, and that's actually for the properties. So we later on, when we get to object-oriented programming, we will change those properties per script, okay? So you can either change them manually, as we have just done with the part, or you can do that within a script. Okay, and the next thing has to do with the events. Okay, so if you head to this View tab and then go to Object Browser, you'll see this tab right here, and yeah, we basically have many objects right here. So we have this data store service I was talking about. So this is a service, okay? And you can see all of the functions first of all. So clear all children, clone, destroy, and so on. And the properties and the events. So the events have this bold symbol, and the functions have this wait, what is that? A block with some window facts. So they have this symbol, okay? So you could memorize this as well. And if you go through all of these single objects, you'll get a description of what they actually are. So this service right here, so services are being considered as instances, okay? And this attachment is actually an instance, so you have attachments inside of this insert object tab as well. And data stock key, file mesh, yeah, so it seems that all of them are, so yeah, it seems that only instances are being listed inside of here. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I recommend you to check out this object browser, to check out all of the tabs I have just showed to you. So get familiar with those tabs, and one more thing I would really ask you to do is to, yeah, use Studio. So by actually checking out all of these options, by, for example, building something, so you could possibly build a building, big building, a house, by using all of these tools, so the scale tool, the move tool, the rotate tool, so you actually get an idea of how many possibilities you have with this whole studio environment. As you can see, the size changes, position changes, and you can even change the colors, okay? So consider all of these options till the next episode. And with that being said, I would like to end this episode, so thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If so, leave a like, subscribe, share this video to all of your friends. Like this video, and good luck in learning, and we'll see each other in the next episode.